It's time of Lent. And you will hear me to say so many times that the most important thing of Lent is Easter, the experience of Easter. Whatever we are doing today as a practices of Lent has one intention, that we can become more and more children of God, that we can experience more deeply our relation or identity of God. This is why we reduce so many things that are not important. For example, the flowers. I'm sorry, the music is very important, but the rhythm is different. Because we need to focus only in God. The same will happen in our daily life. We should reduce music. We should reduce the food. We should reduce any distraction that can help us to focus in what is important, what is necessary in our lives. I will say that Lent is kind of the preparation that the groom or that the bride has for the wedding day. Before the wedding day, they should take a shower, they will make up, they will dress beautiful, but the intention is not to remain in the shower, it's to present in the wedding day. The Lent is a preparation for us to Easter. And one of the topics that are very important in our identity of Christians, being children of God, is precisely to understand the sin. It's the main topic in the readings today, the sin. In the first reading, it's very clear the temptation that Adam and Eve has. And also in the gospel, again, the temptation that Jesus will have. Wow, Jesus has temptations. I don't know, but this is something that we should surprise. Jesus has temptations. The temptation by itself is not a sin. We need to understand this. Because when someone came to me and said, Father, forgive me because I have sinned. I have so high temptations to kill my mother-in-law. I say, well, this is not a sin. It's not a sin. No, the temptation is not a sin. To kill your mother-in-law will be. But the temptation by itself is not. Jesus faced temptations. Clearly, he faced temptations. What is a sin is to fall in the temptation. But think about this. Thanks to the temptations is that we have opportunities to say to God, I choose you. Without temptations, we will be not free. Without temptations, we will not have opportunities to show God how important is He to us. The temptations is a proof that you are free, that you can decide what you wanted. And it's important to understand a little bit about what is the, I don't know how to say, the biography of the temptation. What is the procedure, the steps for the temptations, so that we can understand part of us. The first reading that gives us that beautiful poem about Adam and Eve, about the first temptation and the first sin, give us like a poem, a glimpse about what is the temptation. The temptation is no other thing than a fake way to be happy or to improve ourselves. I will say, this is my definition, a fake way, because it's a lie. I remember when I was in the catechism 100 years ago, that one of the nuns who was giving me the catechism, that nun explained that part of the gospel. And I was seated there, and I thought I say to myself, and I say, oh, Eve, how dumb she was. And the nun says, what you say? And I was, no, I don't say nothing. And she go wherever I was seated, and she repeat what you say. And I say, well, that if it was not very smart, because who will believe that eating a fruit, you will become my God? Who will believe this? Who will believe this? Then the nun says, well, this is exactly what the enemy is still doing today. Drink another and you will become happy. Take this and you will be more rich. Gossip and you will be more fancy. And it's the temptation. Who will believe that falling in temptation you will become a better person? I will say that the sinners, I am including them, I will say that the sinners is not bad people. It's just people who is not really smart. Because they don't understand that the temptation is a fake way to be happy. But it's not. An alcoholic and drug addict, I will say, it's not bad people. It's just people who is not smart enough to understand that the desire that they want for to be happy is not in that way. This is why in Greek, the word sin in Greek is hamartia. And that particular word, hamartia, that we translate as a sin, in Greek has the idea to someone who was trying to go to the target and he fall. He tried to be happy, but he doesn't arrive to happiness. Make hamartia. A drug addict try to be happy, but he fall. Doing this, you will be not happy. You try it, but not. An alcoholic, he tried to be happy. There is no person who is alcoholic who tried to be alcoholic because he's looking a miserable life. No. It's because he's trying to improve his life, to forget his situations, his problems, but to the end, he arrived to a worse place. That is the sin. The temptation by itself is not a sin. It's an opportunity to see and an opportunity to choose what truly we want. To believe in this sin. To believe that we will become to be like God. To believe that doing that we will be happy. Or choosing to be faithful to God. Now, in that particular moment, we decide to be more free or to become a slave. Because every time that you fall again and again in the same sin, eventually you are losing your freedom until you will arrive to a certain addiction. But if you choose to be faithful to God, you will be more free. Just think about this. There is so many people who say, Father, I am addicted, whatever, to pornography, to alcohol, to drugs. But there is no one person who says, Father, I am addicted to say the truth all the time. I want to lie and I can't. No. If you choose the virtue, you will become more free. In the gospel, we see 3 temptations that evil one gave to Jesus. And I will say that it's really possible that Jesus received more than 3 temptations. He being the Holy One, he received so many. But the Gospels relate 3 that I will say that are more easy for us to understand. That is like 3 classifications of this sin. The first temptation, when he was hungry, become these stones as a bread. There is a problem to become these stones as a bread? I will say no. I mean, in the future, Jesus will make a multiplication of the bread. The problem is to make this without commitment. When we are looking the pleasure without commitment, this will destroy ourselves. This is why Jesus rebuked that temptation. The first temptation we can categorize as a pleasure. Every pleasure. The pleasure is a sin only if it doesn't have a commitment. Only if doesn't will make this you better person. Then it's a temptation. Will be a sin. I mean, the temptation, wherever you want to call it, if this has a commitment, if this has a purpose, it's good. But if there is with no commitment, with no purpose, then will destroy you. As an example, Jesus was able in the future to multiply the bread and to give the bread for so many people. But in that moment, he was alone. He will not do this because he doesn't have any commitment. He rebuked that temptation. The second temptation was about to have power. When the evil one says, fall, and the angels will sustain your feet. Is this a problem to have power? I mean, Jesus in the future will walk in water. The problem is not to have power. The problem is to have power without service, without direction, without intention. And this is important because today there are so many people who wants to have power, who wants to have the spotlights, who wants to be the first ones, but we need to ask them, what is your intention? Just to show yourself that you have the power, eventually this will destroy you. The second temptation is about power. There is nothing to try to be the president of the United States, but if you want this only for spotlights and not really for service, then it's a problem. And the third temptation, I will give you everything if you worship me. The possessions. And again, there will be a problem to have possessions? No. I mean, I wish to be rich. No, there is no problem to have possessions. The problem is to have possessions by the cost to worship. When God is knowing your heart, there is no possessions who will fill your heart. And you always will be hungry and thirsty for material things, and there will be no material things, there will be no earth who can fill your heart. The problem is not to have possessions. The problem is that the possessions will have you. It's different. In that temptation, it's very clear that it's better not to have nothing, but to understand that it's only God, only love, only our neighbors who can fill our heart and no possession by itself. So, as you can see, if we can imagine, and let me say this in this way, after the Holy Spirit who helped you more in your journey to holiness, after the Holy Spirit who will help you more in your journey to holiness, will be the evil one by giving you temptations. Because in each temptation, you have the opportunity to say, I choose God. Without temptation, this means you are not free. This is why I am so scary. I am so worried when someone arrives to me in confession and say, Father, I don't know how to say because I am a good person. I don't have temptations. And I say, really? If you don't have temptations, it's because maybe you are completely lost. Completely lost. The temptations are for the free people. The temptations are the ones who has the ability to choose. I'm sorry for this example, but it's like an alcoholic person, like a drug addict person. When they are in the worst stage, they feel that they can stop drinking alcohol in any moment. For them, this is not temptation. If you see this from outside, you will say you have a problem. Now, when you are free, you can distinguish when there is a temptation or not. When you can choose to remain faithful or to fall. The question for us in this Lent is, do we recognize our temptations? Are you aware about your temptations? Please, as a Christians, as a children of God, we need to understand that if we are free, this means we can choose. Choose wisely to be more and more free. And a slave doesn't have freedom, doesn't have temptations, doesn't have options. Are the free people, are the children of God who has the opportunity to decide what is the future, how free you are, how aware you are about your temptations. Please let us stand.